Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. It's time for another frequently asked questions video, which means I'm going to get into the comment section and I'm going to check out what you guys are asking about. I do this regularly because I want to hear what my content, what my audience is curious about, but also because sometimes you guys just spark topics that I'm not thinking about. And I actually popped into the chat a minute ago, the comment section a minute ago, and I found something like that where it's like, I've never thought about this, but I would love this. So let's get into it. If you're new to my channel though, my name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258. You can call me 12. I look at the comment section regularly, so drop your comments. Leave your IGN if you want a little thank you when and if I use your comment. And one last thing, if you want some extra content from me, more than daily content, check out the membership page on the community tab within the YouTube channel. And you can check out different tiers of involvement that will unlock weekly content as well as live events that are private. So check that out if you want. Let's get into it. So I popped in the comments and I saw a few that just grabbed me, and one in particular from Erroneous, who drops some great comments recently. And so thank you, Erroneous. But we're going to start up here with Fact Fusion 1215. If you've never seen me do these FAQ videos, what I like to do is grab 3 comments from 3 different videos, and under 15-20 minutes the video should probably be wrapped. Fact Fusion 1215 says, hey Dwayne, thanks for all the updates. Can you make a guide for new and returning players? I've started playing again after 2 years. Should I start by grinding at bronze or rent and play at a higher league? Thanks, Godspeed. Okay, such an important question, and it really requires like some sort of deep dive. And the problem with a video like that is that it requires me to address there's every price point, there's every commitment level, there's every expertise level, and so there's just too many variables. But suffice it to say, the deepest you can go without stretching yourself monetarily, and while threading that needle of creating a certain amount of return from your play that will justify your ongoing renting, because that's possible. Even today, that's possible. Rental card costs for rentals are so cheap. It's absolutely possible to strategically rent in a way that allows you to maximally succeed at a high level in the game, extracting maximum returns both from soulbound rewards and SPS, and yes, in guilds, and unlocking merits, because those merits are going to give you gladiators, and those gladiators are going to give you in-game rewards because they're playable through the soulbound reward cards that you're going to start unlocking. So it's this full picture. And then I didn't even mention tournaments, but mind you, tournaments I guess they need to get more and more fired up in the coming weeks as land gets put out. But do you see what I'm saying? I'm really saying that I think going as deep as you can for as least cost as you can while threading that needle of sustainability. And the way to sustainability is by diversifying the ways you receive reward. So again, that's guild involvement, that's tournament involvement, that's ranked battle involvement, that's making sure you're playing every day and not sleeping on the game, wasting energy. And finally, using other games like Splinter Forge to get a double dip on the content. You've rented the cards are yours, or you've bought the cards, or you've earned the cards. You might as well use them in Splinter Forge and earn some Forgium, which can be translated into DC. Good friend of the channel, Gathering the Magic, has done this from bronze level and has seen success and has acquired cryptocurrency for time and effort that he then reallocates into more cards so he can leverage his growth. It's like the way somebody buys a house and then uses debt on that house to buy a second house. That's what people like Gathering the Magic are doing when they double down on themselves by acquiring some amount of cards, using it to create income, and then leveraging that income to get deeper into the game so they get more income so they can leverage that and go deep. It's this snowball effect. So it's a very detailed question and I can't answer it fully here today, but that's what I would want you to know. It's about going as deep as you can while threading that needle of sustainability, and that is possible in 2023. Okay, Bananas drops a comment, and Bananas, another guy who's been very active in the chat. Thank you, my dude. Appreciate you. Bananas goes, I would like to think they wouldn't give out land rewards in chests, not because not everyone will have land, but they will give away merits even though not everyone is in a guild. Maybe it would entice people to do surfing when that's available. So in this video, he's referring to a video where I recently talked about, I think it might have been his comment, or I can't remember to be honest, but someone dropped a comment saying, would it be possible for them to ever give out, for instance, grain or, you know, time crystals or one of the 50 different resources that we're expecting land to generate once it's in sort of land 2.0, I think. And by the way, the town hall's out tomorrow, I think Monday. And by all accounts, it looks like we're expecting a big land release. I saw on Twitter, which you guys need to follow me on Twitter, Time and Attention. And there's a whole Splinterlands sort of ecosystem of commenters who drop some pretty important alpha. And I saw this from Topical Tofu, and he goes, this is a Cryptomancer comment from Discord. I think you'll be hearing some good news about land in the upcoming town hall. Stay tuned. And Cryptomancer knows what's up. Like, that Cryptomancer is one of the two main people that are taking care of this sort of thing. And Topical Tofu is legit. Like this, I trust this tweet. It's not as if it's fake news. So my point is, land is coming soon. Land 2.0 will be delayed, but you know, when that comes, it'll be exciting because we'll have new revenue and new resources from the land. But will it produce assets that are then later put in reward cards, in reward chests? I don't think so. But we talked about it in that video. And Banana says, maybe because they hand out merits, right? They hand out merits and not everybody's in a guild. Plus, if they hand out land resources like grain, brick, wheat, whatever you imagine might be in those 50 resources that are generatable from land, it is conceivable that they would be dropped into reward chests. And it's certainly, I mean, they're going to have a financial value. So if I want to rehash this question, I'm going to say, the bad side of putting land resources, 50 land resources into reward chests, bad side is not everybody's in land, so they're not all going to care about those tokens. So maybe that disincentivizes rank reward play. But I actually don't think so. That's just I'm trying to play devil's advocate. Like, I think that's a problem. That's a consideration. That will be a discouragement to some, in the same way receiving merits in reward chests is a discouragement to some. It shouldn't be, but it is. It shouldn't be because reward merits produce gladiator cards which are playable in rank. And similarly, if I was to give you grain in a reward chest, and you don't have land, you don't care about grain, you might say, I never want to own land. But he's right, first of all, it might entice people to do some kind of involvement with land, even if surfing whenever that's available, or maybe even buying when, you know, because you get so many resources, fine, I'll get involved. But I think the more likely positive, so I tackled the negative. The negative is not everyone's going to want those resources, but the positive is that it's going to be a liquid resource that's sellable. And therefore, it's like a liquid financial resource in your pocket for playing this game. In the same way DEC used to be, or SPS used to be. DEC used to be paid in chests and you could just go spend it on cards after you earned it. Now there was problems with that and how the bots took advantage, etc. And then later we had SPS, which was liquid right away. And then later it wasn't liquid. It was tied in, staked in, and you had the whole unstaking mechanism to access that. So what I'm saying is, if they just distributed 50 different resources, today you got 5,000 grain in this one chest, or today you got 5,000 wheat or whatever resource it is, remembering that they're all going to be sellable on a free market that we price through our trades and acquisitions. And because it's 50 different resources, I would imagine you could disperse those payments in a way that wouldn't tank any of those markets. And yet you'd have this sustainable revenue payout for playing. And maybe if people could see past the impediment of, I don't really want these resources, they might feel the benefit of a liquid cash resource in their hands that they could liquidate into a peer-to-peer market, allowing them to buy cards, rent more cards, etc. So I'm not sure what they're going to do. I'm not entirely opposed to them looking at that. And if people like Bananas and others are interested in seeing land-based rewards in chests, especially when we get the 50 new resources, I think this is a conversation we keep bringing up, because I think the DAO oversees rewards. Recognize this. Remember, we are going to be governed by decentralized governance through the DAO. The DAO will decide things and commission things and, you know, requisition things from Splinterlands, the company. And I believe we oversee the rewards from the chests. I believe. And if so, if we want this, let's raise the issue, let's push the needle and make it happen. Now, I don't really believe we want this. I think it's an interesting conversation piece for now. And maybe that's where we're at. Like, let's kick this idea around, because we do need to think through what rewards are going to look like in a few years when SPS is no longer available, when it's no longer being minted. What are we going to do? Is it going to be hacks that we've found into the DAO through burning mechanisms? Or is it going to be maybe new SPS minting? Or is it going to be DEC returning? Or is it going to be maybe these resources? So there's room for this consideration and conversation, but I don't know how realistic it is right now. Anyways, let's move on to the last comment. This is where I really wanted to start the video, and maybe this is what we'll title the video, because truly this is the conversation that I hadn't ever thought through, but I think is really interesting and valuable. Erroneous comments on a recent video where I talked about I want more soulbound reward cards. I want a third issuance of soulbound reward cards in this game. They're going to eventually be made transferable. The question is, with the next issuance of reward cards or the following issuance of gladiator cards, because one day we will see more gladiators. The question is, will those be soulbound or will they be immediately transferable? I hope they will be made soulbound. I think it's a valuable technique for our game. I actually think there's a lot of logic and merit. It actually incentivizes those who are the most long-term committed to this game, and disincentivizes short-term attendees. And I like that. I think it's good. I think it's, as a man who values this and who has played it for years and who espouses the importance of recognizing the value of your time and attention, and that there are trivial rewards that can multiply meaningfully over time. That's my posture and position for this game. So of course I love the idea of soulbound rewards, which have no price but have deep value. And so I want more of that. And Erroneous says, listen to this idea. I want a set of soulbound reward cards that are meant to be modifiable. That means they have a basic stat, but using land resources or some other upcoming resources in the game, we're able to craft abilities onto them. And in addition to this, I want bot devs to not be able to see what cards we have. So I want a radial button for the permissions who can see. There are two ideas. Don't lose me here. He says there's a radial button where you can give permissions, like you might in a social media website. You can say, I want my friends to see my posts. I want my followers to see my posts. I want everybody to see my posts. He's saying, what if we had a thing about your card collection where you could have guild members see your card collection, everyone and nobody? And I think that's really interesting because of this next point. Listen to this. The purpose of this is that I want bot devs to not know my card inventory. And even if they do, that they can't see my modifications that I've done to my modifiable soulbound cards. Interesting. Not just because of bot fighting, but absolutely that's part of why I'm intrigued by this comment, because the bots continue. I'm pretty convinced when I see some submissions from some of the people in Modern that there is some, and the way it's submitted, like 5 seconds left, 10 seconds left that my opponent submits the team. I'm pretty sure that's a battle helper at work. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not going to name any names, but I think it's happening. And that's in Modern. And then Wild, of course, bots are rampant. So this is another interesting, thoughtful, maybe approach to answering part of that issue. Why? Picture first that you had a collection of soulbound cards that could be changed. You had soulbound cards that were yours. They're tied to your account. Maybe they're never transferable, or maybe eventually through DEC burning, they're made transferable. And instead of just being the Phyrexia hero, maybe it's like this kind of idea. It's a melee-based unit. It's got some armor, some hit points. It's got some basic abilities. But then what if it had like an RPG element? This is what he's saying. Like you could go down this lane or this lane. Maybe this is the base stats, and you could pump up the melee damage output. Or you could choose to pump up its speed, or you could choose to pump up its hit points or the armor, but not all of them. That's the idea he's proposing. So the first thing is this personalized iteration and experience of Soulbound, almost an RPG experience within the Splinterlands game, is very exciting to me. I've played games like that my whole life and I've loved them. They're some of my very favorite games of all time. You know, Shadowrun is a game for Sega Genesis. It was for a lot of systems, but Sega Genesis, I've played, even to this day, I played countless hours of this. So it's such a fun, old school game, but that RPG element, I can go this way with explosives. I can go this way with hacking ability. I can go this way with, you know, speed, with this way with strength. Each NFT would truly be unique in that way, which is another really cool thing. And I think would appeal to Matt because he's, you know, if you look at what Rooney was, it really was an attempt to make a unique expression that is owned by you and then not by another. And in that way, sort of tie that world of NFTs to Splinterlands, because that really had never been here. It's like these were kind of commodities up until now, up until Rooney. These cards were commodities, meaning if you have one Phyrexia hero, it's just as good as another. We've been talking more and more about making them unique in the sense of either creating numbers on them, certificates, like one of them is the first, and then one of them is the second, and one of them is the third. And that would be a certain distinguishment and sort of a prestige element that would affect collectors. But then this is a whole new level where you could like personalize and make the card your own, Now it wouldn't be like Phyrexia Hero is a melee class and I'm going to turn him into a magic class. It probably wouldn't go that far. But then again, maybe for some small situations it might. Like picture Aggro Longtail. Aggro Longtail does both melee and magic damage. And so what if you could specialize it down one of the lanes more than another, or in specializing one of its attacks, you could diminish the other so that you see this like really ramped up melee damage output, but it's a super diminished or even removed magic damage output. It's the options seem endless to me. And I love that sort of specialization. And I love that sort of creative expression for the owner, the player, the investor, for you to literally strategically plan your deck. And then the scarcity of each, it would be like, wow, you've done some really cool things with that, with your Oceanus. I want your Oceanus. I don't want just anyone's. And I think we could potentially see an exciting new sort of traditional NFT approach to the investment around these cards in that world. Because they're no longer, I use the word commodities, meaning every one of them is the same. You sell one Sorial Bale the same as any other, as long as they have the same number of BCX. But instead, they're so distinct. So I love that idea. Personalized, modifiable soulbound reward cards. And this incidental benefit to me about how it might curtail bot success just is like a icing on the cake or a cherry on top, because I think he's right. If you could obscure their vision of how you've modified your deck, it would almost eliminate the power for the bot to have sort of the computational success over you, I think. So I love this idea. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Have an amazing day. And Erroneous, thank you for the comment, bud. Have an amazing day, guys. God bless. Bye.